Good morning, everybody. Can you guys see me on the YouTube live stream? Because on my end, it's just spinning in a circle saying going live. Can see me? That's weird. Yeah, it's just stuck spinning saying going live. Don't know what to do here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yeah, it's just like spinning saying going live, and I can't like click any buttons to share my screen or anything. Still need to use OBS, and I haven't started using it yet. All right. If I refresh my screen, will it kill the stream? I don't know. Yeah, Instagram is good today. Love your recap videos. Thanks, Caleb. Appreciate it. Hope it helps you. All right, I'm going to try to refresh my screen. If it kills the stream, I'll set up a new one and restart it really quick. One sec. All right, can you guys hear me? See me? Now it's working on my end. All right, cool. Cool. Good to go. All right, so we'll start jumping to the analysis. Let me get my screen up here for everybody on Instagram. If you'd like to see my screens and everything, that's on YouTube. The link is in my bio on Instagram, and I also posted a story with the link directly to the live on YouTube. All right. All right, are you guys seeing my screen? Whoa. Nice bit of buying just jumped in there. Not sure if some more news just came out or what. All right, let's start jumping into the analysis. Gave people a couple minutes to start joining in. I use Bookmap. Somebody asked what subscription I use on Bookmap. I use Bookmap Global Plus because it includes some of the add-ons that I use, mainly the DOM Pro. So that's the one that I use, the subscription on Bookmap. All right, switch my chart set here. Start going through the higher time frame stuff like we always do. Hope you guys are starting to get a feel for my processes that I go through every day, since I've been doing this every day, at least for people that have been tuning in every day or going back and watching the recordings. The add-ons free. Yeah, I mean, everything that I use is included free with the Global Plus subscription. So I don't pay for anything on Bookmap other than the Global Plus subscription. Can I move my picture to the other corner? Yeah, I would like to, but I don't know how. I'm still doing the live stream directly from the YouTube thing, and I can't figure out if there's a way for it to let me change where it shows me in the corner of the screen. So far, I have not been able to. Maybe if I start using OBS or something, I can do that. But for now, I try to just move the screen around, so it's not a problem. So looking at the higher time frame weekly chart here, this is kind of the same story we've been talking about all week. It's been a little bit of a tough week, and kind of in a range here, kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place in the market, at least on the S&P Futures. But this is this higher time frame channel that I continue to talk about that we've been in. Looking at just the weekly chart, you can see we're kind of stuck between the supply area under all-time highs that sold off, but we've been on this uptrend, although it seems to have gotten smaller and weaker as we've gotten higher. So we're just kind of watching out here. I like to go through this and just kind of get a feel, I guess you could say, for the overall market conditions and where price is at, things like that. So I go through my analysis, higher time frame all the way down to lower time frame every day. Also, just disclosure that I say every single time. I'll be sticking around into the live trading for this. I'll share all my analysis and my game plan for the day. But that being said, I'm doing this just for the purpose of sharing some training with you guys, letting you walk with me through trading days. I'm not sharing trade signals for the purpose of people to copy me, and just understand that there's always a delay in between me sharing information and the stream itself has a delay. So even if you were perfectly trying to copy my trades, you'd still have delay and you would still not realize the same risk reward, which is everything in trading. So I still take losses. I still have losing days and losing weeks on occasion. So it's important to follow your own trading system. And this is just, for entertainment and for learning purposes, so you can see how I do things and maybe it helps you with how you do things in your trading. All right. So that being said, we'll continue on into the analysis for the day. We'll drop down to the daily time frame. You can see the important thing is, and this is probably the most significant change so far that we've seen this week, is yesterday we attempted in the morning to break out of this channel on the news, and it did not hold. So far, we're kind of forming a pin bar candle, which you can see the upper wick on the weekly time frame, and we're pretty much flat back in the range. So from a technical analysis perspective, from my perspective of how I do technical analysis, that's a little bit of a bearish signal that we have attempted now to break out of this and got squashed, and we're now holding. And really, actually, we'll see as we drop down in the time frames. But yesterday, after we broke out that first 2-minute news rally and we broke out of that channel, we really never made a higher high again since then. We just continued to downtrend and make lower highs and lower lows all day. That being said, all of my capitalization on the trades yesterday were longs off the bottom. I saw a nice bit of buying there, so I was able to scalp longs multiple times. But those were counter trend, quick scalps that I did not try to hold for big moves. I understood that they were counter trend on the day. I saw good confirmations. So there's ways to play the market, whether it's with the trend or counter trend, but you just have to understand the context of when you're taking that trade, and it influences how you manage risk for that trade and what you target for that trade. So it's important to understand your setups and how you trade, and understand if you're going with the trend or counter trend for a counter trend type setup. So dropping down to the daily chart, and we can see clearly this channel that we've been in moving higher, but also really the same thing that I've been saying all week. We've been holding higher lows. We've been working our way higher, and not just all week this week, but really for several weeks now. We're holding higher lows and making higher highs, but buyers are just not continuing to show strength when we push those higher highs and quickly run out of steam. So a lot of people are willing to buy the dip. Not a lot of people are willing to continue buying the highs for any sustained price move. Looking at this, you can clearly see each time we poke the highs, we drop back aggressively, poke the highs. Here, I guess the start of this week was a little bit different because we just kind of consolidated and held at the highs. And that's why all week my plan has been basically buying the dips, targeting the highs, speculating that we could see a nice breakout of the highs because of the way we rallied like this on Friday and then just kind of consolidated at these highs. Typically that leads to a breakout, and it did lead to a breakout. It just did not sustain and immediately rejected back in the channel. So it's kind of, to me, even more so in a hard place now because we've been consolidating at these highs. We tried to break out of the highs, but then we kind of rejected back in. So yes, on the higher time frame, we're uptrending. Yes, we're consolidating at the highs, which is bullish, but also we're kind of seeing some bearish signals as well because we've tried to break out of this channel and rejected back into it. And really looking at the week, we're really just in a balance range over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth day going into today. Yeah, we kind of wicked out of it on news, but really outside of that news, we traded fully inside the same range. If you discount that aggressive little pop on news, the majority of all the regular trading hours has been in the same tight range between, we can call it 59.90 to 50 or 60.50. So 50, 60 point range over the last week. So important to keep that in mind. Looking at today, we did kind of sweep the low of that range, and now we're right in the middle of that range. So it's kind of a very 50-50 point in the market. I think I've said this a lot this week, and this again may be a day where I just don't take any trades until something is clear and definitive for me and how the setups that I look for. But we'll watch it and we'll see, and I'll show you what I'm looking for on the higher time or on the lower time frames today, just for intraday scalp type setups. But we very easily could have some news come out. We could see some momentum come out, and we could break out of this range, and that would change everything. So we will continue to watch it, and we'll plan setups accordingly both ways, and we'll plan setups if we just kind of stay in this range. So we'll have some setup ideas, whether we stay in the range, whether we break out to the upside, whether we break down. I always have kind of like what if scenarios for every scenario that I think is plausible. And then I just let the market and the price action tell me what is most likely. All right, so dropping down to the 6-hour time frame here. Again, pretty similar picture to what we've been seeing. I would say what is a little bit more significant looking at this time frame is how aggressive the selling really was yesterday, and continuing to just push lower and hold lower highs, push lower lows. So ever since that early pre-market rally on news yesterday that rejected and just left pretty much all wick above this trend line at the top of this channel. And you can actually see right where kind of price opened and then broke down on these 6-hour candles was almost exactly at this trend line here around 60.34, which is also a key level that I have on lower time frames as well. So very interesting to keep that in mind right there. That's kind of an important point. You can see we took out these prior day lows of the week. If you this was last Friday. So yeah, I think we took out the lows of the week there on that dip this morning. Yeah, we did. So we took out the lows of the week and could not sustain and bounce back to the middle of the range. So very much a middle type of thing. We took out the lows of the week. We bounced back to the middle. Yesterday, we took out the high of the channel and dropped back to the low of the balance range, not to the low of the channel though. So short term, like if we can't even sustain above these prior highs, then the next downside thing that I see coming is the low of this channel. So there's some lower time frame levels that I have, specifically right here where I'm hovering over. So you see right here around 59.75, which is kind of the origin of that bounce that we saw from Friday. So that could be either a target area if we find ways to get short, or that could also be an area to look to get long if sellers are not able to break under that area and continue lower to the low of that kind of channel trend line to the downside. Do I pay anything to chart on Thinkorswim? No, I don't think I have any. I've had my Thinkorswim accounts for many years because I used to trade options, and I traded options on Thinkorswim. I no longer do that, but I don't have any kind of monthly subscription. The charts and data are free on Thinkorswim. I don't trade futures on Thinkorswim because the fees are very high. So I'm going to remove this level here, but you guys see what I'm talking about there. All right, drop down to the 4-hour time frame. You can see a little bit of a double bottom with a higher low on this news drop here. So short term, if that holds as a low after we took out the weekly lows and failed to continue lower, if bulls are able to sustain price up here, and we'll get down to some intraday levels, but if I do see signs of bullish strength above 60.15, 60.24, and 60.30, then that could be area to scalp along back into this top of this trend line channel, or prior day highs if there's really strong signs of strength. But ideally not going to be like if I find ways to get long ahead of time and we're in a kind of a position to hold for a high of day test or this channel test, great. But I'm probably not going to be initiating anything if we bounce up here. I'm probably not going to initiate shorts all the way up here. If sellers are not strong enough to hold down here, some of these lower time frame levels, then I will probably not be shorting stuff up here. We'll see what develops, but most likely not. And I also will most likely not be initiating longs up here unless I see really strong confirmations and maybe we break out above this channel again and hold it on pullbacks. Maybe if I see intraday signs, price action, and order flow, that's a very strong trending day, and we may go take out yesterday's highs. All right, so that's all what I consider like the higher time frame analysis, which is like the weekly, the daily, the 6-hour, the 4-hour. Does anybody have any questions on that stuff before I start dropping into like the intraday stuff and the trade setups that I'm watching for first this morning? I'll pause just for a moment there to see if anybody's got questions on those higher time frame analysis. Jose says, thanks for sharing your knowledge, Matt. You're welcome. I hope you guys are getting something out of this. Appreciate you guys being here. And if you appreciate me doing this, again, I have nothing to gain out of this, just kind of doing this because I'm sharing what I'm doing anyway with my time. So if you appreciate that, just drop a like and share it. It helps me out, helps the channel reach more people, which is great. So I appreciate you guys just dropping a like and sharing if you find value in this. All right. Don't see any questions. Wait, let me check the Instagram chat. Again, for everybody on Instagram, I'm sharing my screens and more information on YouTube. So if you'd like to stay in the live stream for that, I recommend hopping over onto the YouTube live stream. The link is in my bio and the link is in my story on Instagram. Am I still watching the low volume node around the 23s and the 26s? Yeah, 23, really 15. I don't have it marked specifically as a low volume node, but let me look at the volume profile and it kind of is. But yeah, 20, really around 60. We'll get into it here on the lower time frames, but really around 60.15 up to around 60.24, 26 is a key area that I'm watching this morning. Excuse me. That is the first kind of key area. If I see strength and bulls hold above, like call it 60.15 to 60.24, 26 area, and we kind of pull back into that, then I'll take that as kind of a short-term bullish signal to possibly speculate getting long to target a breakout of the highs. However, if bulls cannot hold above that and we continue to see weakness and I see large selling there, then I may be interested in taking that short and target the lows. So that is kind of the first key area that I'm watching. Anthony asked, do I only trade at my levels or where the order flow is? The answer is both. Only trade key areas, ideally. And ideally, I see order flow stuff around my key levels and key areas. But that being said, sometimes I will use order flow to develop new key areas and key levels in real time because I'm seeing things on the order flow that are what develops stuff on the candle charts and stuff that people come up with levels after the fact. So if I'm seeing it develop in real time, I can instantly identify that that's going to be a key area before it develops anything on the candle chart. What time frame are you referencing the low volume node at 2320? I don't think that's a question for me. I'm not looking at the low volume node of that, but whoever asked that. But not looking at the time frame, I'm just looking at like a day volume profile. You can see there's a bit of a low volume area around 26 to 23. $60.26 to $60.23. Somebody asked, I saw specifically on Bookmap trap sellers, that was 2 large red lines. Does that always indicate large bids? Possibly. Nothing is always. You just have to kind of contextually put information together. But just looking at the heat map, if you see a large red or orange bar below price, then that is a resting limit order to buy a bid. That's a bid. And so if price comes down there and it gets filled, then and buyers continue to buy at that, then yeah, that was what I would consider absorption and a passive buyer. All right, so let's drop it back into the lower time frames now. Looking at the hourly chart, and we'll start to talk about specifics for this morning. We did see a good bit of buying off the news this morning, but really nothing significant. We're still kind of in the same little range here overnight. In fact, we just briefly took out this high right into that key area that I talked about. And so far, we're just kind of consolidating here and holding. I did see a lot of buying here pop up around 60.15 to 60.21 this morning, like right when I started the stream, actually. And that's what caught my eye. And I think I said that. I'll show you guys on Bookmap when I switch over, but there was an interesting activity at 60.15 to 60.21, which is right at that key area. And I was saying to watch out, and that does look like it could be absorption, could be a passive seller there. So we need to watch that off the open here. So just looking at this, really, this is what I was talking about, which we could see on the 6 hour and the 4 hour. But since that news pop after 8:30 yesterday up there into the 70s, which really if you guys remember all week, if we broke out of this channel, the first areas that I was looking to target was like 60.64 to 60.75. And that's exactly what we hit. If I pull up my levels here, these were kind of price targets that I was looking for to target if we got in on a breakout of this channel. And coincidentally, we wicked that out and then rejected right, like almost to the tick at that level yesterday after that. So interesting. Those were prior day highs that I was looking to target. So we have the lows here also as well, around 60.21, which is coincidentally right where that pop failed. That's not a level that I have marked, but I have that in mind as just this whole area from 60.15 up to around 60, 24, 26-ish area as kind of a key pivotal point that I'm watching. And a lot of that is from, which you can see more clearly, yesterday afternoon, I was seeing a lot of interesting activity on the order flow. You can see here all these wicks. I actually took multiple long scalps yesterday, here, like 4 times, and caught this for quick bounces and scaled out, quick bounces and scaled out. That's where I made all my money yesterday, was on these, because I saw passive and aggressive buying coming in on the dips under this 60.15 key level. And so I was able to take that long. And now we clearly see on the 15-minute how many times we bounced and wicked over that. And so because of that activity yesterday, which we can now clearly see on the 15-minute chart, I'm now watching this area from around the 60.15 up to around 60.24, 60.26 even, as an area of interest to see what happens. Just meaning if buyers are able to get above here and pull back into here and we hold, then I may be interested in taking it long to target these highs up here, target this trend line. It's that higher time frame trend line. Target, if we break out above that, target these highs. But that would be a bullish scenario today if buyers really recover the selling from yesterday and continue the higher time frame uptrend. However, if sellers really continue to hold this and continue to absorb here, I may be interested in shorting this, especially in not right off the open, but if the first 30 minutes or so, 30, 40 minutes, we're unable to break out above this, and I see a lot of passive selling, and we start to reject and pull back into it and still reject, then I may be interested in taking that short, just targeting the lows under 6,000 to 59.90. And if sellers are really strong and break under that, then we have this level down here, 59.72. If I don't see good stuff to take that short and it does drop anyway, then I may just sit out and wait, because again, the higher time frame structure is bullish. If we come down here and test this area around 59.72 plus or minus a few points, if I see strong absorption and buying in there, then again, that's probably something I'm going to look to take long and just target a bounce back into the open area, back into this range. So it would be probably a quick scalp, because we are kind of in this balance range. The uptrend is not super strong up here, but I would look for buyers to defend this level and just take it long for a scalp back into these prices up here. Which, I mean, really, even just targeting like 59.90 to 6,000 would be a banger scalp, 20 to 30 points if we catch it down here in the 70s. And then really everything that I just said about 59.70s really applies down here too. But if we firmly break this and we really shift this structure, I don't really want to long the bottom of this channel, because that just would be trying to catch a low on too much aggressive selling, I think. So if we break under that and start shifting to continue this structure of lower highs and lower lows, then at that point, I probably would no longer be trying to catch a bottom on that and just let it develop for a future day. And then if we do bottom up here, either tomorrow or later this week, we could see if buyers continue to support this down here. But that would be a pretty large move. That would be a continuation of yesterday's selling. That's pretty strong. And other than this being the bottom of the channel, I don't really have much here that would indicate that this should be a strong buying level. So I'd probably just sit out, because we could be going for a breakdown of the channel now. So just quickly recapping again, if we break out above here, pull back into it, and I see buying on the order flow in here, that may be something I'm looking to scalp long, targeting this trend line, targeting prior day highs. However, if we reject and we can't break from here, or we can't break out of here and selling is strong, then I may be looking to take that short and just target the lows, or just target the origination of this news rally, so around 6,000 to 59.90. If we break under there strongly, I may sit out and wait and see what happens if we test this key area around 59.72 to take it long. If we break under that strongly, maybe a continuation short, but I'm a little uncomfortable taking a short near the low of this channel when the uptrend has been, or the trend has been up on a higher time frame. So if we just shoot up here, I may not be looking to take a trade. And if we just drop down here, I may not be looking to take a trade. But if I can find a good entry before and target one of those things, then maybe that's what I'm interested in. All right, so we're about to open. The bell is about to go at 9:30. I'm going to switch over to Bookmap. We can watch it together. I'm going to end the stream on Instagram. If anybody's on Instagram and wants to continue watching, link is in my bio and in my story. I recommend hopping over on YouTube. So peace out on Instagram. All right. Stop sharing my screen, switch over to Bookmap. Nice bit of buying here right off the bell. Let's see if this sustains up into that key area that I mentioned. Good morning, everybody. Let me take a quick glance at VX as well. What's VX doing? So VX broke out above 19 again, which was a prior key level, but so far it has rejected and it's kind of pulling back. But still very strong bounce on VX yesterday since the afternoon. Oh, nice little fake out pump here off the open right into that key area that I was watching between 15 and 24-ish. So let's see what happens here. Not interested in jumping in right off the open here. Would like to see some good confirmations and let this develop for just a couple minutes. But that is a decent little pump and wick there off the open. It's kind of dropping now. So that is the area and the absorption we wanted to see on a pump into this area to take short, but it literally happened in the first freaking 20 seconds of the market being open, which is hard to execute a trade on for me. But that was one of the first setups that I was looking for today, and it literally just happened on the first 20 seconds. So it's already looking like a little bit more volatility, obviously yesterday and today, than we've seen earlier this week. But we're really in a very middle spot here, like I talked about. So important to be patient, wait for very key spots and key confirmations. Nice positive delta popped up there at 1350, which we can see on Bookmap here. See if that's a passive seller getting in. Same though, there was kind of like a 500 lot negative delta right at the lows, and then that popped up. So that's a little interesting. See it down here, there's a 500 lot negative delta, and then we popped up here as a 500 lot positive delta right here, which is interesting. So far, this is looking a little bearish to me for a nice little drop, but this was the entry area that we wanted up here, and it happened in the first 20 seconds. the problem with jumping in short here is, for me, like, where is my risk? Really, to be wrong, it's all the way up here at that area that I identified. I guess we could just, you could jump in short and maybe put it over this absorption here. Just to me, looks like a very good chance that you could possibly get wicked out though before a move happens. So good morning, Joanna. Good morning, everybody. Some people still just joining in. Yeah, this is looking kind of weak. Saw this pop fail with all this absorption, saw this pop fail with all this absorption, and I might have missed it just really quick off the open here. But so far, this is looking kind of weak to me. Kind of seeing all these aggressive pops fail. And VIA has gotten pretty elevated as of yesterday afternoon, which also puts additional pressure on pops to fail. So some bids getting filled here around that key area that I talked about, around 6010, 6009. Nothing significant that I would say. Just if it can generate a nice pop to an area that we want to get short here. VWAP traders may want to take this long. Yeah, I don't really trade off VWAP. If anything, like maybe sometimes I use it as a target, but let's just stay patient and let this develop. Like realistically, we're looking at this analysis and stuff for a setup to see which way the market is going to kind of expand towards. But this week so far, we're basically flat on the week. And so we're kind of right in the middle of the range. Right in the middle of the range. So need to be kind of careful, kind of cautious here. See, this is what I was saying. Like you could have shorted this, seeing this absorption and pop here, but just given the overall location and everything, too easy to get wicked out right there. Boop. Nice bit of buying here now. So let's see if this fails again in this key area that we talked about. 2 higher lows now since the news rally, which is the same thing we saw yesterday morning on the rally off news. Robot got 6 points. Nice little scalp, my man. So just staying patient here. Now on that selling last night, just looking at, 2-minute and 15-minute, we did kind of double bottom and hold a higher low off that 59.90 area. So keep that in mind as well. Just looking at the overall overnight range, like from the close yesterday, we sold off, we rallied, we sold off, and now we're bouncing. let me draw a fib on this, but I would guess just looking at it, we're like pretty close to like the middle of the overnight range here. Yeah, 60-10, 60-11 is like the 50% of the overnight range, which is right where we kind of saw this bounce right here. 60-10, 60-11 is like the 50% of the overnight range. So being cautious here, guys. I took one break-even trade on Monday. I didn't take any trades on Tuesday. I made a couple thousand yesterday on a few scalps on those lows, and now kind of in a weird spot again. So unless I see clear stuff, I'm still being cautious. All right. Zoom out here a little bit and see. Yeah, so since that news kind of shot straight up, actually zooming out, there's quite a bit of buying up here, but like this is that, when I mentioned in the pre-market analysis, this is that interesting area that I was talking about right around 60.15, right up into 21. Saw this quick spout of buying that rejected quick. To me, that looks like passive selling and a kind of like a quick impulsive pop that passive seller sold into. But we are seeing a good bit of buying here. Like you can just zooming out pretty much on the morning session, we can see all these large green bubbles right in this key area, 60.15 to 60.24.26 area that I've been talking about this morning. So let's watch this. If this buying comes up in here and we see all this large buying and we break back down, then that's going to be important to watch if we bounce back into their test and if sellers reload and reject it lower. If this buying is successful and it breaks back in, above that area, then again, equally important to watch if we test back into there. So this kind of large orders here right in this area on the open just kind of further confirms this is a little bit of a key area to watch. My mic is cutting out a lot. Is anybody else hearing my mic cut out a lot? No? A lot of people saying no. Everybody says it's good. So it may just be an internet connection for somebody. Not sure. So a lot of buying here now, pumping this thing up. So good thing you didn't try to short that little bit of weakness we saw off the open. But we're still right in that key area, not really above it, I would say. It's kind of a high volume area right around 20. 20 is exactly where we're trading right now. Starts lagging after a while. Mine is in and out, some people said. I'm not sure. I'll check my internet, but my internet seems to be good here, and a lot of people are reporting it good. So it's hard to know. Slowing down up here on the buying. Still in this key area. Kind of swept over the highs from around 3 a.m. now twice. Once on the impulsive pop we saw at 9:02 a.m. and then again now testing those highs, that swing high from right around 3 a.m., which is also right in that key area I mentioned between 15 and 24. So let's see how this develops. I just don't see anything really significant to short it right yet. Works well, just got to refresh the stream. Somebody said just refresh your stream and it works better if you're having issues with the audio cutting in and out or lagging. Yeah, it also, Odyssey said it might be a YouTube thing. When I started this YouTube stream, it said that YouTube was having issues and it was struggling to connect the stream initially. I had to refresh on my end. So it might actually be just a YouTube problem today. I've never had that before in all the streams that I've done where it's done that. So that was interesting. So yeah, I forgot about that. It could be just kind of some YouTube backend issues. All right, so staying patient and watching this. Buyers are looking to run out of steam a little bit up here, it looks like, in this key area. But in my opinion, nothing significant to short yet. There is a negative delta building at 60.1875, about 200 plus, 250 plus lots now, 230, sorry. So there's a negative 230 lot delta, which is right here building. So that could be a passive buyer. Just see how it develops. What is interesting is though how we dipped down at the lows, right at that 60-10 area, which is kind of the 50% overnight. We had that. It's now 691 lot negative delta, which appears to be a passive buyer now that we bounced off of. So this isn't the ideal scenario that I was looking for. Just the way price action and order flow is setting up right here is not kind of the ideal scenario that I was looking for to take a short in this area. Since we already kind of dipped over here, we saw this around 60-10, which is around that overnight 50%. We got a 700 lot negative delta there, which is very much appears to be a passive buyer now. And then we've bounced off that into this area. So not really the structure and order flow type of thing that I was watching out for to short this area here. So when in doubt, just chill. Let's see, did anybody have any questions? To the low volume node, yeah, negative delta just popped up here, 300 lots at 22. So let's watch this. Again, this, like just putting in perspective, this bounce is just into that key area from yesterday's lows where we consolidated at the lows of the day in the afternoon. So just keeping perspective. $316 lot negative delta popped up at 22.50. See what that's about. See if that's some aggressive selling coming in, or we'll see if that's something else. Somebody taking profit. That could just be an earlier buyer taking profit there. But we're seeing a little bit of aggressive selling here. Buying got a little smaller and weaker up here, and then we seeing a little bit of larger selling popping down here, but nothing significant enough that I'm taking a short. And like I mentioned this morning, or like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, the structure set it up here is not quite exactly what I would look for to short. Yeah, so far every little bit of selling that's kind of come in has gotten squeezed. This little bit of selling came in here, squeezed higher. This little bit of selling came in here, squeezed higher. So really since the open, a little bit of selling, squeeze higher, a little bit of selling, squeeze higher, selling, squeeze higher, squeeze higher. No reason to step in front of that. Just because, like, if you're looking at a candle chart and you're like, oh, we're testing this area, that should be resistance, whatever. Yeah, but looking at the order flow, can kind of see that we're squeezing sellers. So no reason to step in front of that. If anything, maybe find one of these pullbacks to get in it to get a part of these squeeze. I'm still interested in this, what we saw, that activity from 60.10 to 60.14-ish area, those large orders that popped up. And there's a bit of a low volume squeeze above that where it shot up rather quickly up to around 60.16, which is also right where I have this key level at, if you guys remember, 60.15, 60.16. So interesting if we pull back into there and hold now. This is kind of that second scenario developing where if I see buyers strong into that 60.15 to 60.24 area and we pull back into it and hold, then that's more of that scenario that I was talking about, scenario 2, which is if we kind of show strength through that area and pull back into it and hold, then it's a possible long setup to go ahead and target those 60.30 breakouts into that upper trend line, 60.40. Let's look here. Yeah, to target probably 60.35 to that trend line around 60.40. And then above that, we could have a squeeze towards the 60.50s, 60.60s again yesterday's regular trading hour highs. So we'll see if buyers want to be strong above this area now on any pullbacks. It's almost kind of that short idea here is kind of almost totally invalid now because we've just squeezed right up through it and really not any significant strength from buyers or from sellers. We're getting a nice little drop here, but it's kind of thinner, lower volume. Let's see what happens right here. quick little drop here. Let's see what happens. Did any news come out? It's not very significant volume. It's just kind of, you can see the smaller bubbles, quick little impulsive drop here. We saw a lot of impulsive drops like this get bought pretty aggressively recently. Look at that. Very kind of thin, I would call that thin, smaller bubbles, impulsive drop right down, and shot right back up. It's a bid here now at the 20s. That looks like it might have got pulled. Yeah. We'll see what happens here if we get a little dip back into the 20s right here. Yeah, we didn't quite come back to that key level around 15. And I didn't quite see anything for me to jump in it right here at 60.17. And we instant bounce back up. But if we kind of consolidate in this area and see some strong signs from buyers, then that's that scenario that I was watching for, where buyers show some strength up here in this key area and defend on pullbacks to go take out those 30s into those 40s and 50s from yesterday. Trying to keep the view for you guys with my face there in the corner. So some selling here into that 20s where we saw that bid pop up, but it is a little bit larger. Ooh, look at that. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to take a stab at this. I like that buying. I got in long at 20 and just like a 2.5 point stop here under these lows. But I'm going to be pretty defensive here. I want to see some strong buying come in after that higher low just held right there. See, we saw that bid there a minute ago, and we saw price defend and bounce like right there. So let's see if we can now hold this, but that might not be a great enough entry, and I'm okay just taking a quick little 2-point loss if I'm wrong and then looking to re-enter. But really, to be right, I want to see some aggressive buying come in pretty quick here. We are getting right here. We are getting. I don't want to see this fail, though. I want to see this move price. So maybe I'll trail my stop pretty soon here, pretty quick. I don't like that feeling there. Giving it just a hair of breathing room. but I want to see it move. You know, I'm right, and that's a passive buyer there hitting that. I want to see some aggressive buying start to come in and drive these highs. There's a 200 lot negative delta right there at my entry at 60.20. So if that's right, and that's a passive buyer, I really want to see this come back again now. Really want to see this start driving some aggressive buying now. See this kind of large order here, had a quick little drop here that got bought, quick little drop here that got bought, quick little drop here, I got long. All right, we're shifting structure now. I'm up like 4 points. I might go break even here just to be pretty defensive. I want to see this move. So my entry's down here. We're getting the aggressive buying now. I don't want to see this get trapped and fail. Like really, if we come back down here below 20s, there's not much stopping another quick drop down here. And I'm just going to take a 2 or 3 point stop loss for no reason. So let's see if this works now. Definitely want to see these 24s break and hold above. Want to see some aggressive buying come in. Just for how I like to trade setups, how I like to scalp. I like to see, you know, kind of quick aggressive moves after I spot absorption and after I get an entry. And if it doesn't, then I may need to readjust my timing. Yeah, we need to see 24, 26 break out and hold now. And if we don't, I don't really like all this activity up here because I want to put these sellers in pain here around 25. I want to see them get in pain and squeeze this high. And if we don't and they reload here, there's not much stopping another drop down from my perspective. So I'm being pretty tight here. Still in, but I'm just about to close if we don't get some aggressive buying coming in. I'm just not going to bag hold. If I was right on my entry and aggressive buying is not successful, I'm not going to bag hold. My initial risk, you know, was only like 2 points. So it was up 4 points. That's already 2R, but it's not what I was looking for. I was looking for aggressive buying to come in and break out these 25, 26s. But if I'm wrong, might be wrong on my timing here, look for a re-entry, and I'm not going to bag hold it for no reason. We are getting that aggressive buying here, so I'm holding. I just don't want to see this aggressive buying get trapped on a lower low below this selling. Let's go. Come on. Need to break out these highs, take out the swing high, and squeeze above it. But it's kind of running out of steam. It has felt pretty hard lately to catch a trade that maintains momentum. But I mean, it's pretty much stayed green on me since my entry. So I'm staying in it, but I don't really want to see this flip red now if we fail here. Kind of narrowing into this pennant here, and I want to see this shoot above. All right, here we go. Yeah, I'm not going to bag hold this now. If we come back below the 20s, I'm out. 4 or 5 points. Very small. I mean, that could be too tight, but it's just the structure that I'm looking at here. Here we go. Yeah, there's no, if this buying does not continue here, there's no reason for me to bag hold this into the red. So I'm holding. Let's go. Let's go. Might scale out half here in a second. Yep, I'm out half there for about 10 points. Out half there. The reason is we tested 30. Remember, 30 was that first area I said to watch out there. So we tested 30. I'm out at 30 for half for 10 points. I'm still going to hold, though, because I like this buying momentum. I'm still going to hold this runner. But 10 points is a 5R exit for my first exit. Remember, I was risking 2 points, and really after the first couple minutes, my risk was 0. Because I trailed my stop loss. I want to see the buying continue above 30 and not get stuffed here. Otherwise, I'll just close. See, we are seeing right at 30 at that key area that I mentioned where I just closed half, we're seeing this offer pop up. So watch out for that. Now there's a 600 lot positive delta popping up at 28, which we see right here. So this could be a passive seller, but it also could be a lot of aggressive buying that's going to overwhelm that passive seller. I got a good entry, which is allowing me to be patient. I already scaled out half for 5R, 10 points. So let's chill here for a minute. But if we don't continue above this, I'm not going to bag hold this back to 0. I'm going to probably just close this scalp. Again, we're in the middle. Keep in mind, we're in the middle of a balance range, really. So hitting quick scalps is the move. Higher time frame trend is up though, so we're with the higher time frame trend, and that's what's keeping me a little persistent holding this trade. But I want to see us get above 30s now, and definitely hold above those 24s. The next thing I have to the upside is that trend line around 60.40, which is also the consolidation. 60.35, I guess. That little consolidation pivot point from yesterday. I'm just looking at the candle chart on the 15-minute. We had 2 lows that dipped around 35, and then after we broke down under that in the afternoon, we rejected off that. So let's watch those 35s. Just another 7 points here. But I'll be honest, guys, I don't like how this just went totally flat here, and we see this offer popping up. We had this really aggressive buying, and it just got shut down here. It just got turned off. So not ideal. I want to see that. I want to see aggressive buying continue to hold and break above these 30s. But I got a good entry, which is allowing me to stay a little patient. I already scaled out half for 5R. Oops. But I don't love this going sideways. Don't want this to be a fake out pump. I want this to be a continuation, aggressive buying pump. So Maddie took a long at 20 out at 29. Excellent. That's the same trade that I took. Was out. I got out. I got in at literally 60.20 and I got out at 29.75. So 10 points basically on a 2-point risk for half. And now I'm holding, being patient with this. Would love to see at least like 35s. Look at these offers up here. Can we break this offer and go hit these offers up to 35? Can we do it? Now or never. Let's go. Testing this offer here. Need to get a sharp breakout above these 30s into these 35s. Don't want to see this offer hold and reject back down. Let's get a nice aggressive pump higher here. Finger on the trigger, guys. I don't like how this is just flattening here. Need some aggression. Come on. One more pump into the 35s. Keep in mind, we're middle of the range, and that's why I'm being very defensive, very fast. Quick move. Come on. There are some bids right here around 28. So we're seeing some bids follow up. But I don't like how this is just, ever since I took my first exit here, just straight sideways here. So I want to see this get aggressive above. Here we go. Here we go. Get a nice pump up here. I don't want to see this reject. I want to see really this buying momentum stay in and flush out 35. I'm going to probably trail my stop again now. I don't want this little pump up here fail. Here we go. Here we go. Come on. Yeah, trailing my stop. So, worst case, it's a 5R trade. Let's see if we can get a little more momentum to pump up those 35s. If the market tells me I have a 5R trade today, then so be it. If not, okay, here's 35s, here's 35s, almost 34, point away. Give me one more little pop. Come on, one more little pop, fill those offers. These I'm watching these offers right here at 35. Large order coming in. I'm out. So about 14 points on the second. So scaled out, see this interesting little activity here popping up right at those 35s. I'm not going to get so greedy for one more point to fill those offers. It is what it is. It was a 2-point risk scaled out for 10 points and 15 points. So what is that? 5R scale out and 7R scale out. Just math is hard, guys. So realized 6R and got in that 19 minutes ago. That's perfect because I do have a hard stop today at around 11. going to take my son to Disney for his first haircut. Who else caught that? Put W's in the chat, as every guru says. Oh, man. Listen, guys, I'm not trying to share signals here. I'm trying to share analysis. I'm glad you guys caught similar analysis and were able to maybe get extra confirmation from me taking the trade. Funny, I thought you say that because it's just so typical. Every guru in there, put W's in the chat if you made money. I'll see them doing put L's in the chat if you lost money on the last trades. Boom. Yeah, it's still going. But hey, got my piece. That's all it's about. Like, I'm not getting overly greedy. I had my plan. I had my target. I had my risk. The rest that happens, who cares? You can't have the mindset that you want to catch all of every move. That's not, it's not realistic, especially as a very short-term scalping trader. Manage risk, and part of managing risk is, you have a target. And to me, also, this is possibly a scenario to leave runners on, but really, I have a hard stop at 11 today. Like I said, I'm taking my son to Disney for his first haircut. It's one, and so I got better things to do with my time today. I already hit my target. I already did what I wanted to do. Made well over $1,000. Again, I've kind of limited my size this week, so it's less of a distraction with me doing the live streams. It's only in 2 contracts. So, like $1,300 or so, scaled up for 10 points and 15 points. And I was only risking $200. I was risking $200 to make like $1,300. Do you guys want to see a trade recap on Instagram? You guys caught it live. So, you guys got to watch the behind the scenes of when I post the trade recaps. This is what it actually looks like. You saw how we stayed patient. We made a game plan. Like, yeah, I made $1,300 in a few minutes, but that's years of experience. And I've been up since like 5:30 this morning doing analysis, going on a run, getting myself prepared. And then I can make $1,300 in a couple minutes. All right, I'll work on the trade recap. I've got time to do the trade recap now before my hard cutoff around 11. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the stream. I really appreciate it. Like I said, drop a like and share if this has been helpful for you. And I appreciate that. I will save and share the recording of this because I know a lot of people work and do things during the day that aren't able to join the stream. So I will share the recording on YouTube so anybody can go back and review. You can see what I saw as I saw it in real time and why I took the trade, where I put my risk, where I took my profit, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. Thanks everybody for being here. I'll spend a few minutes and get your son a mullet to celebrate. I don't think my wife would be cool with that, but that's funny. All right. Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate it. And I will see you tomorrow for the end of this weekly everyday live stream, but I will continue to do periodic live streams. But this has been fun and I've appreciated everyone joining, and I will continue to do live streams. Maybe not every day, but maybe I will. Maybe I will some weeks. I'll continue to do every day. So follow and keep up to date because I will do new things. I'm working on some longer format videos for YouTube for training for you guys. And as always, I'll post the short format trade recaps and tips and insights on Instagram. So you guys, appreciate all the support I've gotten a ton of nice messages from people that have shared how much this has helped them. And so that's encouraging for me to keep doing it. So, all right. See you guys. Have a good day.